The Baltic nations don't have much when it comes to their respective air forces. When it comes to military equipment, fighter jets are one of the priciest items on the list. But it's not just the acquisition of aircraft that's expensive. It's also costly to conduct extensive training for pilots and technicians and conduct regular maintenance to make sure fighters remain operational. But of course, maintaining control over one's airspace is important, and when you're in this corner of the world and non-allied military aircraft are routinely flying into or close to your airspace, having a reaction force to guard airspace sends a strong signal. That is the role of NATO's Baltic Air Policing mission, and it's what we'll take a look at for today's video. To make sure the three Baltic countries have a way to protect their airspace, the Baltic Air Policing mission was established by NATO. There are a few sources that discuss this, but taking a quote from the Spanish Defense Ministry's website, the Baltic Air Police mission is part of the alliance's collective effort in monitoring the airspace of its members, particularly those of the three Baltic republics, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. The website goes on to explain that the Baltic Air Policing mission is purely defensive, which aims to tackle the air defense constraints of the Baltic countries. The mission has been ongoing for over 2 decades now, actually starting all the way back in 2004, the year all three Baltic countries became members of NATO. Since then, we've seen fighter jets from different NATO allies rotate in and out every few months. It started with one air police base in the Lithuanian city of Šiauliai, and then in 2014, after Russia's illegal and illegitimate annexation of Crimea, a second air policing presence was established at Amari Air Base, Estonia, under NATO's assurance measures to its eastern allies. So, how does it all work? Well, aircraft assigned to the Baltic Air Policing mission are often launched or scrambled when potentially unfriendly aircraft enter Allied airspace. The role of the NATO jets is to visually identify Russian Federation Air Force aircraft. We imagine the name of the mission, Air Police, was chosen very carefully, something that tries to avoid any association with aggressive action, despite the mission involving NATO fighter jets.
Whenever an aircraft is flying into Baltic airspace and not behaving to the rules, we fly up there, we escort those aircraft, send out a signal and make the airspace safe for that.
According to NATO, a high proportion of Russian Federation Air Force flight activity is due to the geographical situation of the Russian exclave of Kaliningrad. Indeed, Russian Federation Air Force aircraft regularly fly between mainland Russia and the separate Russian territory. Over the course of this activity, they often approach or fly near NATO airspace without using transponders, without communicating with air traffic control, and without filing a flight plan. And so NATO fighter jets go up and check things out and remind Russian aircraft to stay out of Baltic airspace. According to a NATO press release, in 2023 alone, NATO air forces across Europe scrambled well over 300 times to intercept Russian military aircraft approaching Alliance airspace. They reported that most intercepts occurred over the Baltic Sea. While we were unable to find equivalent data for 2024, NATO reported that in September, the Italian Air Force, operating from Lithuania, were called to respond on 3 separate occasions within a 24-hour period to identify and monitor aircraft not adhering to normal safety procedures. NATO adds that the vast amount of aerial encounters between NATO and Russian jets were safe and professional. Breaches of NATO airspace by Russian military aircraft remained rare and generally of short duration. And so, how do things work when it comes to the NATO forces and jets? Well, countries and their contributions seem to rotate in and out about every 4 months. So whatever country's fighter jets are stationed at the air police bases now, well, it might be different by the time you watch this video. We can say that the very first rotation, which began at the end of March 2004, involved 4 F-16s from the Belgian Air Force. Since then, many countries have taken their turn either in Lithuania or Estonia. There was also a brief period of time when an airbase in Latvia took over from Estonia while maintenance work was taking place. And so, if this extensive Wikimedia table can be trusted, then to date, the Belgians and their F-16s have had 6 rotations in Lithuania and 4 in Estonia. Canada and their F-18s have had only 1 rotation throughout all these years, and this was to Lithuania in 2014. To date, there have been 4 rotations for the Czech Air Force and their JAS-39C Gripens, 3 to Lithuania, 1 to Estonia. The French have had 11 rotations in the Baltics to date, 3 to Estonia and the rest to Lithuania. Some rotations used Mirage 2005F aircraft, while others used the Dassault Rafale. The Germans have so far had an impressive 15 rotations in the Baltics, 7 to Lithuania, 7 to Estonia, and 1 to Latvia during the temporary closure of the Estonian base. In the earlier years, the jets were mostly F-4F Phantom IIs, but have more recently been Eurofighter Typhoons. The Hungarians and their JAS-39C Gripens have had 3 rotations, all to Lithuania. The Italians have had 8 rotations across the Baltics, 5 to Lithuania and 3 to Estonia. Most of these have used the Eurofighter Typhoon, although 1 rotation used F-35As. Poland has had 13 rotations, 2 to Estonia and 11 to Lithuania. Earlier rotations saw the MiG-29, while later rotations have used the F-16. The Portuguese Air Force has sent their F-16s to Lithuania 7 times, and only 1 time so far to Estonia. The Romanians have come 3 times now. 1 rotation in 2007 used MiG-21s, while more recent rotations have used F-16s. Of Denmark's 9 F-16-based rotations, just 1 has been to Estonia, while others in Lithuania. The Royal Netherlands Air Force have been to Lithuania twice with their F-16s and once to Estonia, while the Norwegians, also operating F-16s, have been to Lithuania 3 times but have yet to come to Estonia. With just 4 countries left on our long list, Spain has had 11 rotations in the Baltics, 8 to Lithuania, 3 to Estonia. The first rotation used the Mirage F-1M, but later deployments have used either the Eurofighter Typhoon or the F-18. The Turkish Air Force contributed F-16s for 1 rotation way back in 2006, while the UK has had 3 rotations to Lithuania and 3 to Estonia. Rotations have used the Eurofighter Typhoon, although the first rotation in 2004 used the Panavia Tornado F-3. Finally, according to the list from Wikipedia, the US Air Force has had 5 rotations to Lithuania and 1 to Estonia. These have been either F-16 or F-15 deployments. What doesn't appear on the Wikipedia list is a US Air Force deployment of F-35s in 2022, which saw jets operate missions both out of Lithuania and Estonia. And then we should also note that the Baltic Air Police mission has occasionally had deployments to Malbork, Poland, but we didn't include these in our list. At the moment, there are a few NATO members that haven't sent fighter jets to the Baltics. Relatively new NATO member Sweden will be participating in an air police mission soon, but this won't be in the Baltics. The country is sending up to 8 Swedish JAS-39 Gripen aircraft to Poland instead. Both Finland and Sweden, prior to becoming NATO members, had conducted joint air police exercises with Baltic Air Police participants. So we can say that most NATO countries that possess fighter jets have participated at least once in the Baltic Air Police mission. We know that Greece is one country that is yet to deploy to this corner of the world. In 2024, it was reported that Greece declined a request from the Baltic nations to participate. Greek officials explained that this was due to their overstretched military resources and existing responsibilities in the Balkans, with its air force already heavily involved in Albania, Montenegro, and North Macedonia, with similar responsibilities for Bulgaria in 2025. Looking at the list of deployments, there are a few interesting things we've noticed. First, it's usually only 1 country at a time, and it looks like the most common number of jets is 4, but sometimes it can be as high as 8. However, on several occasions, it's 2 countries deployed to 1 airbase simultaneously. For example, in April 2022, it looks like Czechia and Spain were at Cholet at the same time. The most recent rotation at the time of making this video sees jets from Poland and Romania in Lithuania at the same time. Additionally, deployment numbers don't look all that consistent. Sometimes it's 1 country and just 4 jets, other times it's 2 countries with 4 jets each. We're sure that deployment numbers all depend on geopolitical tensions and perceived risk and threat. But there you go, a big summary of NATO's Baltic Air Police mission as it relates to deployments to air bases in Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. Did you know about NATO's Air Police mission before watching this video? Share your thoughts by leaving a comment.